This news update is brought to you by the Kingdom of Behuti, Ministry of State, Department of Communication. The World Bank reports that the global economy is back on path. It is heading toward a slower but more sustainable phase of growth, adds the World Bank's Global Economic Prospects Report for 2011.
So the recovery right now is going along very well. It has matured. We've gotten past the bounce back phase of the recovery. We're seeing more countries growing at strong rates. We're seeing more components of demand contributing to growth. All that's very good news.
The growth of domestic demand in developing countries, supported by the flow of international capital, is increasingly proving to be a strong engine for the world economy.
So most of the growth is coming from developing countries. Their growth rates are almost twice as high as those in high-income countries. As a result, almost 46% of all the growth in the world in 2011 is going to be coming from developing countries. That's a real encouraging sign both of the health of their economies, but also of their increasing role in the world economy.
East Asia and the Pacific lead the global recovery, followed by South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, and they clearly outperform some regions in Europe and Central Asia.
Particular concern. One is the situation in Europe with the sovereign debt crisis in a number of countries there. That has the potential to slow growth in Europe, reduce investor activity, and that will have a calming effect on growth throughout the world. And of course, there's always the possibility that the situation there deteriorates dramatically, and that will have important negative consequences for developing countries.
Of concern is also the recent rapid rise of food prices. It brings back memories of the 2008 food price crisis and could be a major setback for the poor.
The poor spend a big part, often up to 50% of their budget on food. So if food prices rise, that immediately impacts their standard of living. So what we are seeing that in real terms, in local currencies, the increase is much less than in nominal terms. And also that the real prices are at the moment still somewhat lower than at the peak in 2008. So in that sense, the situation is not as severe, but at the same time you have to be worried because we might not be at the end of the current cycle of increases in food prices.
But for the time being, the strengthening global economy helps to lift more people around the world out of poverty than ever before. Polls have closed in southern Sudan after a week-long vote, with very few voters turning up on the final day to cast their vote. Most Southerners are expected to vote for secession in the referendum that could split Africa's largest country into two countries. Close to 4 million registered to take part in the vote. Results start trickling in on Sunday, on the 16th of January, as individual polling centers post their results after counting the ballots. According to the chairman of the Southern Sudan Referendum Commission, Mohammed Ibrahim Khalil, 83% of those registered in the south, as well as 53% of those registered in the north, had already cast their votes. Preliminary results are expected on the 31st of January, while the final results would likely be announced the first week of February. The vote is part of the 2005 peace deal that put an end to 2 decades of war between the north and the south of Sudan. About 2 million people were killed and 4 million others displaced as a result of that conflict. A high-level meeting between authorities from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and UNESCO took place on January 14th to discuss ways of strengthening protection of the 5 DRC sites inscribed on the list of World Heritage Sites in danger.
I think of issues of security, of the involvement of armed groups and sometimes even military of the Congolese army in poaching, and of course the issue of the mining concessions, the oil exploration concessions, some issues related to the cadastre, so where people have been attributed land into in the parks illegally during the war time. The World Heritage Committee always has expressed its opinion that these activities are not appropriate within World Heritage Site.
The northern white rhino, which had its home in the Garamba National Park, is feared to have been hunted into extinction. while numbers of the remarkable okapi, a forest giraffe only found in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and elephant populations are seriously declining. The population of mountain gorillas in Virunga has remained stable, but numbers of growers' gorillas in the Kazui-Biega have plummeted. Deforestation and habitat loss in Virunga because of illegal charcoal production continue to threaten key gorilla habitats.
Over the last couple of years, there have been important investments from the donor community in the protection of the sites. And I think everybody is now waiting for a clear signal from the government to really address some of the more difficult issues that need a political decision. And as I said, we hope that the fact that the President has taken the initiative to organize this meeting is a positive sign that this high-level political commitment will be forthcoming.
At least 443 are dead after massive flooding and mudslides in Brazil after heavy rains in the rocky Serrana region. Others have reported that the death toll could stand as much as 500. The area located north of Rio de Janeiro received 10 inches of rain, a normal month's worth, in less than 24 hours. Debris from destroyed houses is littered across the area. More rain, more mudslides are expected. Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff flew over the area by helicopter to the region. The country's health ministry is sending 7,000 kilograms of medication. Teresópolis area Mayor Jorge Murillo said, quote, "It's like an earthquake struck some areas," end quote. Few rescue workers have been able to assist the people in the affected area as transportation to the area is difficult. States neighboring the area have also been very heavily impacted by rain and mudslides. Mudslides kill hundreds of Brazilians every year. As always, you can visit us online for daily updates at bahudi.net.